Back in 2018, when I was still kind of wet behind the ears and really getting into Destiny for the first time, there was always this one weapon I would hear whispers about. Wavesplitter. But unlike other famous weapons like 1000 Voices or Whisper of the Worm, Wavesplitter was a dirty word. The story is actually pretty ironic in hindsight. See, Wavesplitter was a PlayStation exclusive weapon all the way from Forsaken launch to September 2019. Aside from a very brief weekend window where Xur broke the rules and sold it to everyone, Sony had this gun on lockdown. And I, personally, never even got the chance to play with it since I'm a PC guy, and Bungie had to disable it to stay compliant with their exclusivity contract. And the real kicker is, Wavesplitter kinda sucked back then. Its whole gimmick was powering up when you pick up an orb of power, but in those days, only masterworked weapons made orbs, and Wavesplitter had no catalyst. I guess, congrats on your crap deal there, Sony. Hope it doesn't become a trend. Anyway, that was then and this is now. 6 years have passed, and I am here today to tell you that the winds have changed. Wavesplitter is cooking hotter than the sun right now. So, details. This Void exotic trace rifle breaks overloads and has a relatively tame sounding gimmick. Wavesplitter's beam has 3 energy levels. There's normal, heck yeah, and serious business. The beam doesn't ramp up like you might expect, but instead it oscillates between the 3 pretty consistently, resulting in slightly higher than normal damage on average. On average, that is, until you pick up an orb of power. When you do, Wavesplitter locks in with the beefy beam until the 10-second timer finishes, and each new orb refreshes that buff to a maximum of 20 seconds. This functionality works even when Wavesplitter is stowed, so oftentimes this gun is just constantly chubbed up even when you put it away, so long as you get that first orb to drop. You won't even have to bother with reloading either, because Wavesplitter also reloads itself when you pick up an orb. Now, you might be thinking that I'm slipping jokes in to make this weapon seem better than it is, and I'm not. Wavesplitter may be a trace rifle, but a lot of the time all it takes is a split second of fire to erase medium to small enemies. And that's impressive, sure, but that isn't why I'm so enthusiastic here. There are plenty of fun exotics that tear through red bar enemies, that's not new, especially when you consider that it uses special ammo. No, the amazing thing about Wavesplitter is that it scales well into big enemies as well thanks to its catalyst. The Wavesplitter catalyst is what really takes this gun from goodly to godly. It does 3 important things. First, it jumps the ammo generation stat up to 80, making the ammo economy very manageable. Second, it adds the attrition orbs perk so that sustained fire on targets generates orbs. And third, it adds the fairly rare detonator beam perk, which creates an elemental explosion under the same conditions. Without the catalyst, Wavesplitter is great. With the catalyst, Wavesplitter is goated. It's so good that I recommend against running double special, just because all of your green ammo should go to this thing. The context Wavesplitter exists within has also changed a great deal. Aside from being able to generate orbs and perpetuate itself on its own with its catalyst, orb generation in general is both highly incentivized and streamlined in the Monument of Triumph era. Siphon mods, armor charges, subclasses, all of them feed the Wavesplitter engine plenty of gas by incentivizing orbs. For instance, Wavesplitter has no crowd control or AoE type effects other than maybe the detonator beam thing. You may think you'll be better served by an exotic like Sunshot for crowds, but in a fully realized build that won't be a problem thanks to Void's tendency to blow dudes into grape juice. As an example, it feels like half of the artifacts give Void weapons specifically destabilizing round. As always with these videos, I don't want to make it about a build, but really all you need is a single Siphon mod to get this thing going. I cannot emphasize enough how much of a beast this thing is. It's one of the only weapons in the game that you can actually comfortably run a whole activity with and not even once have to swap weapons. You can tap down red bars, grab orbs, focus fire on bosses for more orbs and detonations. It gives you not quite heavy DPS for extremely minimal investment. I would say that Wavesplitter's only problem area is in extreme difficulty content where snipers may get you before you can run to your ammo drops. At the same time, if the only problem with a gun is the fact that I can't shoot it more, then yeah, it's pretty good. In particular, I've been using it for high-level pinnacle ops as well as solo dungeons. I'm sure some of you can relate to having to solo more content lately. Wrapping up here, Wavesplitter is one of those exotics that's a slap on and go type. It kicks into high gear when you play the game as normal, making it very comfortable exotic to build around, and especially rewarding if you do give it a push. Even just having a fragment grant devour on orb pickup takes it to the next level. Now get out there and make some music with it. See you next time.